everyone, this is Rabbitearsblog and welcome to another general discussion series. So today's general discussion we talk about today is, are box office numbers really that important? And before we get into this, here are a few words from the channel. Alright everybody, it's time to get on the social media train. Want to chat with me in 100 words or less? Then check out my Twitter account. Want to talk about movies, TV shows, and video games within the group? Then check out my Facebook account. Want to check out some of my ultra cool fan art? Then check out my DeviantArt page. Want to get the lowdown on everything that's happening on this channel? Then check all of the above. And now, we return to our regularly scheduled program. So, this has been a question that's been on my mind for a while, and while some of you guys may be thinking, well, isn't the answer kind of obvious? Of course box office numbers are important. Well, I've been thinking about this question a lot, and I realized that there's like two ways to go about this kind of question, and I wanted to talk about how I view this question in two different ways. So let's get started. So, do I think that box office numbers are that important? My answer to that is that on the financial side of things, yes, it's very important. But on the quality side of things, not really. So let's talk about why it's important in a financial way. So box office numbers usually determine if a movie has done well or not in theaters or even in streaming services. So to be considered at least a successful box office number, the movie has to make at least triple back its budget. If a movie costs like $100 million to make, it's got to make at least $300 million or $350 million at the box office to be considered a success. And the good thing about that is that if a movie proves to be very successful at the box office, they're able to get a sequel or they're able to be jump-started to a franchise. Like, for example, you have the MCU movies, which are very successful in the box office, and every time they prove to be successful in the box office, they make more movies from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, of course, you have movies like Spider-Man No Way Home that made over $1 billion, and then you have movies like Avengers Endgame that made over $2 billion at the box office, and the franchise is still going because those movies were very successful. And even before those two movies, you had other very successful movies like Avengers Infinity War and whatnot being successful at the box office. And because of that, the MCU universe is able to keep going because these movies proved to be successful. And also, if there's a movie that you wanted to see a sequel to, well, if that movie proves to be successful at the box office, then that movie gets a sequel. And then another good thing about the movie performing well at the box office is that it determines whether or not that movie studio stays afloat or not. So of course, if you're a movie studio and you're making movies and your movie ended up bombing at the box office, well, you lose a lot of money, and that could put the studio in big trouble. And if they're not able to recuperate all of the losses they have from their movie bombing at the box office, then the studio could go down under. And you wouldn't want to see that movie studio go down under because they didn't perform well at the box office, or they weren't able to make enough funds back where they could keep the studio afloat. So of course the movie has to perform well at the box office if the studios is able to stay afloat. Now the studios may be able to find another way to make money if one of their movies bomb at the box office. Like, for example, you have big studios like Disney and how most of their movies are always doing very well at the box office. Well, let's just say that they have one box office bomb under their name. Is that really going to affect the company? Probably not, because again, Disney is a very big company and most of their movies make a lot of money at the box office. So even if they had like one or two bombs under their belts, it's not going to destroy the company unless they have 2 or 3 box office bombs that happen at the same time. Then yeah, that could put the company in danger. So yeah, I do think that box office numbers are very important financial wise, because one, it helps that movie get a franchise or helps that movie get a sequel if they do well, and two, it helps the movie studio stay afloat since they have enough money to keep putting out movies whenever their movies do well at the box office. Now, this is where I think box office numbers don't really matter, and that's in regards to the quality of the movie. Like, there's a lot of good movies I've watched over the years that didn't do well at the box office, but I still like the movie, or I still think that the movie is high quality despite the fact that it didn't do well at box office. Like, for example, you have the movie Hocus Pocus, which didn't do well at the box office when it first came out, but since then it has become a cult classic and it's been shown like every year during Halloween. So despite the fact that the movie was a box office bomb when it first came out, it became a cult classic and everybody loved watching that movie years after, and now that movie's getting a sequel, even though it took about 30 years for that movie to finally get a sequel. Or you have those movies that do very well at the box office become very controversial in the public's eyes. Like, for example, you have the live-action Lion King reboot that came out in 2019, and that movie was very controversial to the mainstream audience, but it did very well at the box office. Like, I believe it's one of the top highest grossing movies of all time. But yeah, that movie was very controversial for a lot of people, especially since a lot of people saw it as just a rehash of the original 1994 animated film. But that's one of the many examples of a film that does very well at the box office but remains to be very controversial with the viewing audience. So in regards to quality, I don't think that box office numbers are that important. I think that each person has a different opinion about how they feel about a movie, and if they don't like these big blockbuster movies that's getting a lot of big bucks, then that's based on their own opinion. That's okay. Even I found some of the movies that were making lots of money at the box office, I don't find them to be my all-time favorite films. Like, some of my all-time favorite films are films that didn't do well at the box office, and that's the thing I have about box office numbers in general. So tell me in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this video? Do you think that box office numbers are important? Do you think they're not that important? Please let me know in the comments down below. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is Rabbitearsblog, and I'll see you guys later.